Hi, good evening, everyone, and a very, very warm welcome to what is the Muscle Heart Foundation Charity's 8th episode in our 2021-22 series of informal chats with interesting guests and personalities called In Conversation With, hosted by myself, Michael McGrath. Do you know what? Having distractions and things to look forward to makes life easier for everyone, right? And that's why this In Conversation With broadcast project was originally conceived, with our very first episode, which went out live way back in May last year, with former Royal Navy submarine commander Ryan Ramsey talking all things isolation. Wind the clock forwards 12 months, and what a 12 months it's been for all of us. And you know what? We all have stories and experience to share, and it now feels like we're beginning to make a little progress. And the goal to offer an opportunity to the Muscle Health Foundation Charity's extraordinary tribe of muscle warrior beneficiaries and families across the UK, our community of young people and adults with muscular dystrophy, remains true. Throughout the last 22 episodes, all right, since May last year, guests have shared their stories and their insights. We've had a laugh, a lot of chuckles. And as the host, I've tried hard to encourage free-flowing, long-form conversations, focusing on different aspects of their lives, but also just a little bit of fun, a little bit of humor in getting up close and personal with some quick fire questions, which of course we're going to be doing tonight. Be disappointing if we wouldn't do that tonight with our next guest. Episodes are designed, as always, to entertain, to uplift, and to inform our audiences, enabling, first and foremost, our community to directly engage with guests by, for example, asking questions in real time via the in-house online chat room. Talk about making your audience feel special, something that we try hard to do, enabling them to feel connected, feeling part of the conversation. So before we say hello to tonight's special guest, once again, it affords me the opportunity to pass on tons of love, heaps of hugs and hope to those with muscular dystrophy across the country, to our community, to our families, to our beneficiaries. And I know that many have had their second jabs, all right? But I also know that whilst there is indeed a little more confidence, the sun is shining, it was a beautiful day today, most are still being cautious, and which, from where I sit, makes good sense. And as I've said before, we will prevail. We're coming through this thing, and I fervently believe, do you know what, that there's a little more kindness, a little more compassion out there, and that's got to be a good thing. So onwards with tonight's show. First up, a few key housekeeping points. Here we go. Firstly, a safeguarding note. As always, we have eyes over tonight's In Conversation With broadcast. So if any improper comments or unacceptable behaviors are observed, action will be taken. And secondly, all episodes are recorded and streamed on the charity's Facebook and YouTube channels. And as always, you can help grow our reach by subscribing, commenting, and of course, sharing. Tonight's guest is Chrissie Langley, who works with the Football Association. She's the England Parafootball Physical Performance Lead, currently working with the FA on a vitamin D project. We'll hear more about that a little bit later. And we'll also hear why vitamin D is so vital for those with neuromuscular conditions, for those with muscular dystrophy. And I happen to know that her own work ethic is inspired by former tennis world number one Andy Murray's work ethic. And we're going to explore that a little bit more in this conversation. And we're also going to hear, I also hear actually on the Vine, that Chrissie loves Shrek 1, or is it Shrek 4? Which is it? The Shrek films. We know those. They're beautiful films. We love those films. But is it Shrek 1 or Shrek 4? So why not? Let's ask her, shall we? So, hey, Chrissie, a very, very warm welcome to you. How's it going?
All good, all good. Excited to be on today. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Excellent. It's really great to have you with us tonight. So Come on then, Chrissie, put us out of our misery. Is it Shrek 1 or is it Shrek 4?
Or probably Shrek 4. They finished it pretty well. But I've also heard through the grapevine there's going to be a Shrek 5 I read yesterday, so we might find a new.
Is this breaking news?
I know. I hope it's real. I read it on Facebook yesterday, so it could be lies, but fingers crossed we're going to get a fifth one.
Fantastic. So, Chrissie, how has the past 12 months or so been for you?
It's been relatively steady. Work's pretty much carried on. I'd say PhD wise, it's been quite good in a way. It's strange, but I almost need that time to slow down and, reassess and kind of reflect on kind of how hard I'd been working, with the FA, with the PhD. And obviously this year has given me a chance to reflect on, why I'm doing it and why I love doing it. So it's been a steady year. Obviously it's been equally, hard in ways, but obviously I've been able to make really good links with the likes of obviously Muscle Health Foundation, Pathfinders charity, and it's given obviously having that time has been really valuable to me.
Excellent. You're talking about Pathfinders Neuromuscular Alliance, the newly named charity that was Pathfinders DMD or something. That's all right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, excellent. Very good. So let's just go back a step. So you're talking about your PhD. What is the PhD?
So I'm currently investigating how musculoskeletal health in para football, predominantly cerebral palsy, is affected by vitamin D, and how seasonal variations throughout the year in that vitamin D influences the musculoskeletal health.
So for the benefit of our audience,
yes,
can we just take a step back and just unpick this word para football?
Yeah, so at the moment it's kind of, so para football for me is an umbrella term, which is made up of the likes of power chair football, cerebral palsy football, deaf, other hearing impairments, visual impairments, and blind. So I've been very lucky that because my PhD is an applied PhD, I've been able to work with all of these teams over the last 2.5 years.
Fantastic. I mean, I'll rewind the clock. You're making me think about a moment in time that I had watching. It was such a privilege to witness and watch England blind football play at the Olympics in 2012.
Yeah,
absolutely. You could not hear a pin drop in the stadium, and it was extraordinary. The skill is unreal.
The first time I watched blind football was at the 2012 Paralympics, just on the TV, and I could never have imagined that I'd be able to work with them. And you know what? It is so much better in person. You actually get to experience it, because the players are just so unreal, and you couldn't even comprehend how they are managing to dribble a ball without eyesight. And it's amazing.
It is phenomenal skill. So let's just talk about your job title, the England Para Football Physical Performance Lead. I mean, what a title that is.
It's good.
Tell us more. Tell us more. How did it all begin for you?
So before anything, there are other physical performance leads. So it's not just me. So I work with a team, but basically, I'm just going to put it out there. I am really bad at playing football myself. But my background is more physiology, strength and conditioning based. So when the PhD come up, obviously it was applied sport, and I had actually got a background where I'd had experience with the neuromuscular centre power chair teams. So I was basically just a ball girl, and I told people to drink water. But I knew that was something that was interesting to me, and I wanted to work in para sport of some kind. So when the PhD come up, obviously, to be honest, I wasn't expecting to get it because my background wasn't football. But what did act in my favour was because I'd got experience volunteering with people with degenerative and other neuromuscular diseases. So that's, to be honest, that's how I kind of got the role, because of my background working with the para populations rather than obviously football.
No, I get it. And you're talking about the NMC, the Neuromuscular Centre in Winsford, Cheshire.
Yes, yeah.
Which is again a phenomenal centre, offering a plethora of services. But So presumably you've had direct experience of young people, perhaps with muscular dystrophy,
Yes.
who enjoy the sport of power chair football.
Yeah. So I started volunteering at the Neuromuscular Centre, I think back in 2016. And I was there for 2 years. And when I started, I assumed I'd just be like chief tea maker. But I was really lucky that they involved me in the provision of exercise and physical activity in their very bespoke gym. And it was an absolutely brilliant experience. And I was doing that every Wednesday. And I think about a year in, they trained at my university, the power chair football team did. So I popped my head around the door and I didn't realise. I was like, oh, I know these people. So then I just kind of got involved with the power chair side then. But it was quite coincidence that I was volunteering there, and then they also had the power chair team training at MMU Cheshire campus.
Fantastic. And have the Muscle Warriors Power Chair football team, of which I'm sure there are some members and players who are tuning in this evening, have we beat you?
You know what? I couldn't tell you. You know, I'm not sure if I've not seen any of the games played. I was only really for training, but I'm wondering if I've met some of the Muscle Warriors within some of the FA regional emerging talent camps.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
You probably have. You actually played power chair football yourself, just out of interest?
So I've had a go in one of the chairs.
Yeah.
It was for about 5 seconds, but only because I'd heard horror stories. So he killed me for telling you this, but the head coach with the deaf women that I work with, Paul, he had his first go in a power chair. He decided to try and stop the power chair with his leg and ended up breaking his leg. So he just put his leg out rather than pressing the brakes.
Oh
my
so
goodness. I was a bit like, oh, that's something I do probably. So I was like, okay, I'll probably safe to avoid it.
Oh my goodness. So Chrissie, as part of these In Conversation with broadcasts, we've got a couple of quick fire rounds, and the purpose of these quick fire rounds is to allow our audience this evening to get to know our guests just a little bit more. All right. So are you ready?
Yeah.
Are you sitting comfortably? Here we go. So to keep our bones and our muscles healthy, how much vitamin D should we all be taking per day? Is it 2? Is it 10? Or is it 16 micrograms?
So I work in international units, but I know that it should be 10 micrograms based on what the NHS is recommending.
Spot on. Well done. just that's a little warm up for you. It's a little warm up. You probably think that's a bit unfair, isn't it? Okay. Marmite, love it or loathe it?
Love it. Yeah.
And a good source of vitamin D. Yes.
Yeah, I think so. You know, I don't have Marmite that much, but when I do have it, it's good. So I'm going to have to look on the back of the ingredients for that one.
Good stuff. Blackberries or blueberries?
Oh, blueberries.
Most used emoji on your smartphone?
Probably the monkey face with the hands over the eyes.
Very good. Very good. Poached or fried eggs?
Poached eggs.
And Chrissie, what's the tune, the song most likely to put you in a good mood?
I'm a big fan of Lady Gaga at the moment. So she's done one called Rain on Me, which I really like, and it's just really upbeat.
Good stuff.
All right. Feel happy.
Sardines or salmon?
Oh, salmon.
Number one.
Sardines are really good for vitamin D. Sorry.
They are good. Absolutely. On toast, particularly good.
Yeah.
Number one fave Paralympic athlete?
Oh, Sarah Story.
Yeah, she's awesome, isn't she?
Sarah Story, should I say?
Yeah. Yeah, she's awesome. Favorite season? So spring, summer, autumn, winter?
Spring.
Vitamin D deficiency in the UK population. Is it 30%, 40%, or 50% who are deficient of vitamin D?
Oh, so this is one for me as well, because I split it into insufficient. So I'd probably go for the higher value of 50%.
It's actually 40%.
It's probably 40, because I know the values that I know is 73.5% of the UK population are insufficient in vitamin D.
Which is extraordinary, isn't it? And I think when you share that detail with me, I was looking through, some of the webinars that you've done, I was reading through some of the slides and some of the detail. I was staggered by that. Absolutely staggered.
It's crazy,
And
it's even higher. It will be higher in individuals with disabilities, unfortunately.
yeah, I know that to be the case.
Mm.
So, and finally, one item that you'd take to a desert island.
Oh, depends if the signal. I say a mobile phone so I could get off, but
no mobile phones on this desert island. There's no mast there.
Oh, that's a hard one, probably like a decent puzzle book, maybe.
A decent
like Sudoku or something. Yeah.
We'll go with that. That's fine. That's cool. So let's go back a bit and let's talk about vitamin D. All right. And specifically those like myself with muscular dystrophy. So where did this kind of interest, this specialist knowledge come from? And maybe we can also just chat about why vitamin D is so important.
Yeah. So I think particularly because of COVID, it's become very hot topic at the moment. I mean, we've actually known for a while that in the UK, because of where we live, we have very reduced sun exposure, and that vitamin D from sun exposure is our main source. That's 80%. So obviously, it's one thing that we actually don't have that much control of with regards to getting into circulating around our body, other than other nutrition aspects. And obviously, because majority of us are deficient, a lot of investigations have been performed, for example, in children who suffer from things like bone deformation, like rickets, which was years and years ago, probably well past before the 70s, as these were obviously visual investigations. However, now we're going more in depth and looking at more specific populations, predominantly with, musculoskeletal impairments already, which are going to be exacerbated from low vitamin D. As the studies have all shown, that those that are deficient in vitamin D tend to have lower bone health and even reduced muscle size and function. And obviously, particularly with COVID, I can't not mention it. It's actually really important for our immune system, and making sure that our immune system activates efficiently and works for us. So it's definitely become a hot topic, I'd say, more in recent years because of things like COVID.
I mean, it's interesting because I have my annual MOT. Okay, I try to get to it every year, and it's really important. And the conversation over the last 30 years, it's maybe over the last 10 actually, that consultants have started talking a little bit more about vitamin D and asking questions about diet, nutrition, fresh air, getting sunlight, and so on. And I know there've been lots of reports and lots of research and science looking at the importance of vitamin D, and I'm very aware that we will have some of our community, some of our families, maybe some of our beneficiaries on this evening. And so any insights and just top tips? I think that's one bit of the question in terms of how can we make sure for those people that have to, who feel the cold. So my circulatory system is less efficient than yours. So the business of going out in the winter is just like not on the radar.
Well, sorry, I won't cut you off.
No, go for it. No, go for it.
So in the winter, even if it's sunny, we don't actually absorb vitamin D. So that's one thing. Don't feel forced to go outside and feel the cold. So between the months of probably October to mid-March, vitamin D is pretty much negligible because, how to explain, the sun is at a I want to say lower angle, which basically means that the UV rays, which is our predominant source of vitamin D, actually doesn't penetrate the atmosphere, and it's kind of distributed before it can get to our skin. So even when it's sunny, we don't actually absorb the UV radiation, which is then turned into vitamin D. So through the winter months particularly, I'd be very aware of what you're eating. So lots of things like eggs, dairy products, milk, mushrooms are probably one of the best vegetarian sources, oily fishes. Unfortunately, it's still ridiculously hard to get your recommended daily amount in your diet from just diet alone. So you do tend to find that you should probably supplement between the months of October and March to make up for that negligible sun exposure that you're not getting.
So would you need to eat like a mountain of mushrooms to get anywhere near the sort of level recommended?
I think it was something like 8 fillets of salmon, and salmon's probably one of the highest containing vitamin D containing food items you can have. So you just pretty much impossible to get your recommended daily amount just through food.
Fantastic. Hopefully that's answered the question we had in the chat room. One of the questions, what do you suggest to help boost our vitamin D intake? And I think you've answered that question beautifully in terms of the food and nutrition, but is there anything extra that we can be doing to boost our vitamin D intake?
So obviously I've discussed the winter months. I'd say during the summer, and now obviously when it's safe and when you're ready to go out, think about safely getting that sun exposure. So it has to be direct. So unfortunately, you can't sit in front of something like a window and get vitamin D. It has to be direct on your skin. Now, one thing that is annoying is that obviously it's really important that we wear sun cream for skin protection. However, if you wear sun cream that's over, I think it's an SPF of 8, it actually blocks out 90% of the vitamin D that you could potentially be absorbing. So what I'd recommend is maybe sitting out for 10 minutes, maybe parts of your body that don't burn as easily, so like hands, forearms, maybe legs, and obviously make sure you're wearing sun cream on areas that you are particularly vulnerable to burning on. So for example, me, I have to wear factor 50 everywhere I go, so I burn really easy. But it's obviously being responsible in the sun, but also being aware of, I'm blocking out vitamin D. So is the potential for me to, get 10 minutes of exposure safely each day.
So where's the vitamin D conversation going? So let's just wind the clock forward, I don't know, 10, 15 years. Let's have a little look into the future. What do you think? How do you think the conversation's evolving?
So I think it'll be used a lot in a clinical aspect. Obviously in my area, which is sport, I think we'll be using it and looking to see if it's going to be useful for kind of enhancing sport performance, particularly in para populations who may have like issues with bone strength, muscle recovery, things like that. So I'm hoping, for example, there's very little done in individuals with muscular dystrophy on a musculoskeletal aspect side. So I'd love to see more research done in that. And it's actually crazy how research can progress in 10 years. So we might even be able to go beyond.
I got no. You finished the sentence there. Beyond, was that was the beyond the moment?
Sorry, yeah.
So let's pick up on the para football side of things. So presumably you're in and out of St George's Park. Is that right? Quite a bit, or?
So I've not been to St George's Park for a year now, which obviously is understandable. We are due to go back in May, which is really exciting. My job's mainly remotely, but when we do have camp, kind of like once a month, bi-month thing, we are at St George's or Lilleshall National Sporting Conference Centre in Shropshire. But St George's Park is absolutely an incredible place, so it'd be exciting to go back.
I've had the privilege of going there a few times to do with Muscle Dreams pre-COVID, and but I didn't even entertain the idea of parking my vehicle in somebody like Harry Kane's spot. I know this is something that you're quite ambitious. You'd like to do that. What would happen if you parked your car in Mr. Kane's car parking spot at St George's Park?
I don't know, but I think my little black horse would get towed away because it doesn't quite look like a Ferrari or something.
Very good. Let's just jump into the chat room. We've got a few questions. One of the questions is, what's been your personal career highlight so far?
Oh, that's a really good question, because it's all been amazing. To be honest, it was probably my first England camp that I attended, which I believe was the deaf women's futsal team, and it was just that feeling of wearing the England badge and, you know, being part of elite sport, that, to be honest, I would have never have dreamed of being part of. So it's an absolutely amazing experience, but also terrifying. So
yeah, good. And another question is, once you finish your PhD, where would you like your work to take you?
So I'm really hoping the FA keep me on as a consultant after my PhD, because it's a contracted basically until I finish in September. It's looking likely, which is really good. So how the FA works is normally they take you on as part-time consultants. So I'd also like to be involved probably with like university lecturing and teaching university students, which would be amazing.
Fantastic.
So we'll see where the jobs take us, really, but anything that would allow me to work in sport would be amazing.
So come on then, let's try and have a bit of a conversation about football, all right? Because I know you said a little bit earlier you don't really sort of do football, which is interesting because obviously your work takes you into that space. But first question, direct question, is who do you support? Do you support a football team?
Man City. That might cause some cross people.
It's been lovely talking to you this evening, Chrissie. I think we're gonna have to wrap the conversation up. That's the wrong answer.
Who do you support?
I'm just kidding. By default, I support, because my son-in-law follows a team. I want to spend much of this evening talking about their performance lately, but a team called Tottenham Hotspur.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, moving swiftly on. Do you sometimes get the opportunity to mix it up with, you know, some of the England players?
Not the senior, not like the mainstream seniors. But you know, who needs them when I've got the likes of, you know, England Deaf, England Cerebral Palsy, Power Chair, you know, it's all I need.
Exactly. We need to get you mixing it up with the Muscle Warriors Power Chair Football Club, you know. And in fact, your colleague who introduced you to us, Erin Pry. Erin, if you're there this evening, hello, hope you're well. You know, we're hoping to do a bit of work with her in terms of with our Muscle Warriors and the team, which would be great. So who knows, we may be having a conversation with you at some point in the future. So tell us a little bit about the talent pathway, and you know, what sort of work have you been up to with the WFA, the Wheelchair Football Association?
So specifically with Power Chair, it's quite a new thing, the talent pathway. We looked into starting it probably about 2 years ago now. So it didn't really exist. We had the England team, and that was it. But yeah, 2 years ago, bosses, Will Perkins, if he's listening, I've got a name drop him, James Watkins, they've helped create this talent pathway, which is based, I think one's in Nottingham, and then we had one down south in Aylesbury. I always forget the name.
Buckinghamshire.
Buckinghamshire, yeah, that's the one. Twice a year it was starting, so a really good opportunity for, you know, young new players to come and get involved, meet new people, you know, show the talent that they've got off, whilst, you know, learning things from the likes of myself and Erin. So Erin does a lot of speaking on you know, psychology, and then my role is to kind of discuss, you know, the nutritional aspects, just really nice easy things to get started with. But then my role also is to make sure that no one's bringing bottles of Coca-Cola with them as their main form of hydration. So I'm always lurking, being like, are you drinking water? Are you drinking bottles of Coca-Cola? And I'm kind of, you know, helping guide people make better choices with nutrition, which will hopefully, you know, help them with their performance.
Absolutely. And so Will Perkins, who exactly is Will Perkins?
So Will's in charge of the whole of the talent pathway. So he's been absolutely brilliant. And he works with pretty much every impairment that goes into the England pathway at regional, national, and under 21s. Which obviously Power Chair doesn't have at the moment, but he's constantly looking to develop extra step for players, so you don't have that major jump from, you know, club to go into England camps, for example.
Yep.
So
really
if
Will is tuning in this evening, Will, if you're there, please do ask a question to Chrissie. The more challenging, perhaps around vitamin D or otherwise, the better. Let's go there, and let's explore what talent looks like, and indeed what that pathway looks like for those with who love power chair football. You know, the point you make is well made. So get involved, as it says in the little message at the bottom there. Get involved in the conversation. Please send us your questions as this conversation unfolds. So, Chrissie.
Yeah.
So we chatted a little bit about talent pathway, and we talked a little bit about the Wheelchair Football Association and the FA. So I'm very thoughtful about young people. You know, ambitious young people who are aspiring maybe into the world of para football, hopefuls, you know, and in today's massively competitive world that we live in, starting on their own journeys. You know, what kind of tips or guidance or, you know, advice you might give to those?
Thing for me would just be, don't afraid to step out of that comfort zone, you know, ask questions, be involved, you know, because I one thing I've noticed, everyone, like a few people, you know, you can be quite shy occasionally. That's completely understandable, and I think it'd be great, even if it's just being more involved, not saying no to something, just being willing to try something that might be slightly, you know, scary for you, because often 9 times out of 10 it's, you know, you'll get the benefits from it.
This is about stepping out of your comfort zone, isn't it?
Yeah.
And doing something new and different, and that way you learn about yourself and your own abilities when you do that. So when was the last time you stood outside of your own comfort zone and did something? Huh?
I get quite nervous myself, so I do find that pretty much everything I do that is new, I'm always a bit unsure, you know, how it's going to go, so it always does make me feel a bit nervous. But to be honest, pretty much everything I've done during my PhD has been out of my comfort zone, and it's just constantly, you know, trying to push yourself, you know, make myself almost stand out, network, meet new fascinating people, because you never know, you could be working with them one day, or, you know, friends or anything, you never know. Exactly.
And hopefully this evening is not pushing you out of your comfort zone. I'm sure that's not the case.
I just don't want to mess up, you know.
No, you're doing a great job. So listen, we're going to move into our second quickfire round. Okay. So Chrissie, are you ready for this?
Okay, got it.
You're sitting comfortably. So what did breakfast look like for you this morning?
I always go for a bowl of porridge.
Just a bowl of porridge. That's it.
Yeah, and a coffee.
And a coffee. Yeah. And how do you take your coffee?
Flat white, so lots of milk, lots of vitamin D in the milk as well, you know.
Very good. Yeah. Very good. Food hell?
I'm not a fussy eater, but I'd probably say green beans, because I don't like the squeaky texture.
Okay. What about food heaven?
Probably like tiramisu or something. Italian dessert, maybe.
I don't know why, but a little birdie told me that you do like a bit of Asian or Thai food.
Yeah, that too. You know what? It depends on the mood I'm in, but yeah, I love Wagamamas and places like that. Lots of fragrant, aromatic foods.
Yeah, you've just given them a shout out. That's wonderful of you to do that. So if money was no object, what would you be doing?
Oh, I don't know. I think I'd be bored if I wasn't working. So I'd probably like to carry on working in some form of research where I'm kind of giving back to people, and probably carry on working in applied research for sport, because I love sport. It's a major part of my life. So as long as I'm working in sport, I'd be really happy.
We're going to pick up on the conversation of sport just in a minute, but okay, moving on. Bamboo or electric toothbrush?
Electric toothbrush.
Okay. Best bit of advice that you'd give your younger self?
Just don't afraid to be you. Yeah, just be yourself.
Yourself. Yeah. And one thing that you're really excited about that's coming up this year?
A lot of my friends getting married, so hopefully some good summer weddings where lots of us are allowed to go.
Outdoors.
Yeah.
Very good. So you talked about porridge earlier. So do you have a signature dish that is the Chrissie Langley special?
Oh, I do like cooking, but it's normally like a roast or something, because that's what my boyfriend's go-to meal is.
I mean, a roast, that's, there's a lot of effort that goes into making a good roast with all the trimmings.
Oh yeah, it's got to have homemade Yorkshire puddings on it.
Homemade Yorkshire puddings, excellent. We've got to give a shout out to your boyfriend, Aidan. Hi, Aidan. Yeah. Good evening to you. Haven't had a question yet from you, Aidan, but I know that you're studying hard and in the midst of your own PhD studies. So pop a question in for Chrissie. That'd be nice to hear from you. So back to the quickfire round. Chamomile, rosehip, or fresh mint tea?
Oh, mint.
Fresh mint tea.
Yeah.
Chrissie, where's your happy place?
At home, probably with my parents and my cats.
So speaking of your parents, we've got to give a shout out to your mum. Hi, Jo.
Yeah.
She's doing well, isn't she? All right. And what makes you punch the air with delight?
To be honest, at the moment, it's when one of my players is doing really well, and just having it. They've got a good mentality and they're happy and they're training well, and it generally makes me excited to see them at the next camp.
Excellent. So you said earlier, you talked about sport and your love of sport. Is there a sport that you love to play yourself?
Yeah, so I like to dip my toes in a bit of everything, but mainly netball. Obviously that's an indoor sport, so that's probably not going to be back anytime soon, but as of last week, I've started playing field hockey again, which is really, it's just nice to be back. But anything competitive really brings out the best and worst in me.
I used to play a very mean game of ping pong, all right? And I do play ping pong, table tennis?
Yeah, so funny enough, between my master's and my PhD, I had a job at MMU Cheshire just as kind of like a recreational assistant.
Yes.
And because the campus, Cheshire campus is now closed, the job was very quiet and there wasn't much to do. So we had a ping pong table. And I think I was probably playing about 2 hours of table tennis every single day, and I got very good at it. So I nailed the spin serve down and everything.
So we have to see if anyone is up for watching or observing a game between the chief muscle warrior and your good self in terms of ping pong. Let's see where we go with that. Chrissie, you probably heard of Dr. Rangan Chatterjee. Have you come across him?
Yes, yeah.
So, British physician, TV presenter, podcaster, and he does this beautiful little intervention every night with his family around the dinner table. And it's all around what he refers to as the 3 Ps, and it's all about kind of highlighting or spotlighting gratefulness and gratitude. All right. So you've been a great sport this evening. So one person today that you're grateful for.
Oh, I can't say just one person really, because I say my mum and my dad.
Okay.
But my parents through lockdown have been absolutely amazing, and like they've obviously taken me in again, and they've just supported me every step of the way.
That's great to hear. That's really good to hear. One pleasure today that you're grateful for.
I actually sat through a really good talk on the demands of field hockey. It sounds really sad, but I just found it dead interesting, so I learned a lot from it.
Okay, very good. What was the one thing you learned from the talk today?
Basically how the Republic of Ireland apply physiology to their field hockey team. So it was really useful for me from a job perspective. So things like they use GPS, whereas we use heart rate monitors. So it was just good to learn like the contrast of the equipment that they use and everything. It's always good to know.
Very good, very good. Yeah. And something that's been promised that you're grateful for.
So my boyfriend's back out in Ireland in his PhD. So hopefully when he comes back, that's his promise that he's coming back from Ireland for me. So that's what I'm grateful for.
Where is he studying in Ireland?
He's at University of Limerick.
Is he?
Doing really well, yeah.
Yeah, fantastic, excellent. So, we all recognize that probably now more than ever, actually, we all need something to, to elevate our spirits. lift our spirits a little bit.
Mm.
And so, Chrissie, if you could invite a couple of celebs to your home for a pot of fresh mint tea, to help lift your spirits, who would they be and why?
So I'd say, to be honest, one major person that I've grown up admiring and I've always wanted to meet was Andy Murray. So from a young age, and when he was obviously really young and starting out as a tennis player, me and my mum would watch him on the TV religiously at every single major competition. And I always think that he gets quite a bad rap for his personality. So I would just absolutely love to see, because I don't think he's as dull as people make out. I think he's got a really good personality, but I think he just doesn't play up for the cameras. So I'd love to see what he's actually like, and obviously talk to him about, how he kind of pushed through the boundaries, and his work ethic, like you said before, was unbelievable. And I just find it quite inspiring that he takes the punches and the losses, and then obviously keeps going. And even after a hip operation where technically it could have been career ending, he's still going and he's back on the courts, which I really feel is steely determination.
And it's that steely determination that you find in athletes all over the world, isn't it? High performing athletes. Is that commitment, that's dedication, the belief in their own ability, and the sacrifices that they take on a daily basis to be the best that they can be. And Andy Murray is absolutely no exception. We watched him a few years ago win the gold at the Olympics.
Oh, amazing!
And that was a bit special, although we were like way up in the right at the top of the stands.
That's amazing.
And we're like looking down at this tiny little court. But again, until you're close up watching someone like Andy Murray and the precision of their sport. And it's interesting because if you've read about his journey, where he started from, it really it's tennis has been his whole life. And he just got better and better and better at it, and I think also his belief in his own ability to continue to be a top flight performer is there, and that's really something to behold. Just going to jump in. There's one other. Oh yes, who's the second guest, by the way?
So it's a bit of a weird one, but Jeff Bezos. So he's the guy that was pretty much founder and CEO of Amazon.
Okay.
And I was just fascinated because he started from pretty much nothing and obviously managed to make his way up to a multi-billion-pound corporation.
Yep.
And I think it'd be really interesting to just pick his brains and see kind of what his life was like in the build up to that, and obviously what it is now. But I'd be fascinated, and obviously it's always good to know how you can make a few billion.
How to make a few billion. There's a book right there. There's more billionaires around the world today than there've ever been before.
It's scary, actually.
Yeah,
I think
it is. Just Aidan, if you can hear this conversation, the bar has been set incredibly high right there. Okay. So I'm going to jump into the chat room. So a couple of questions. How have you adapted to all the changes this year? This idea of having to embrace change, both at work, maybe, and also personally.
At the start I found the thought of doing online meetings and sessions with my players actually quite scary, but you just kind of adapt. And I think that's one thing that everybody has done so well this year, is just adapting. And we keep saying it's the new norm and everything, but the likes of online chats and everything is just so good that we have this now, this technology that we can continue to use. I mean, it's been really good from a front with working with my deaf women. We've been having regular meetings. So I'd say, to be honest, we've been meeting more often than what we would if we were out of COVID. We were having weekly meetings where I was leading strength and conditioning sessions. And I mean, a lot of these players don't know each other that well. They come to camps, they play, and then they leave, and that's it. Whereas this has really brought people together. And it's really, like some Microsoft Teams. I don't know if I'm allowed to plug names, but it's just a really good platform that no matter where you are around the world, you can see people and talk to people.
I said earlier, I talked a little bit earlier about the sense that I'm getting is that there's a little bit more kindness, a bit more compassion. Are you sensing that as well?
Yeah, definitely. And I think there's a lot of people are more understanding now. And I think one thing for me is like just an awareness of mental health that is out there now. And I think it's always been important, but I think people are finally really realizing it.
You're right. And I think the conversation has moved on a whole lot as well in terms of different people sharing their experiences of mental health and what it means to them, maybe how they're dealing with it, how they're addressing it, and it's a conversation that we need to keep having, especially at this moment in time. Certainly our community, I know that there are many families and many young people that are struggling with their mental health, and if we can provide distractions and insights and help and support, then that's got to be a good thing. So another question in the chat room. So if you removed sport from your life, what would Chrissie be doing?
I don't know. So I started off wanting to be a dentist at high school. And I started off doing all the A levels, and I found A levels incredibly difficult. But my mum was really good and persuaded me to do sports science instead of history.
Yes.
So I think I would have done history instead.
Yes.
And I might have been a historian, maybe.
Okay.
I was like that of an archaeologist, but obviously
it's dentist, archaeology, sports. Gosh, there's the whole mix right there.
Yeah.
Bethany Kershaw, she says hi, and she says Chrissie's garlic bread is to behold. So what is it about Chrissie's garlic bread that we need to know about?
It's really bad for you, so you probably shouldn't have it. It's flat. It's all it is algae flatbread, fresh garlic, probably quite a bit too much butter, and then you put it in the oven for like 7 minutes, and that's all it is. Beth Kershaw, I just have to shout out. She unbelievable. Her and a guy called Reese, they helped me with my data collection for my PhD, so they are actually quite involved, and they got a taste for how the FA run and everything, and they were just absolutely fantastic, pretty much all through my PhD. So I hope they're still watching, because they really deserve the shout out. And
well, we'll give them the shout out. Look, why don't we go one step further, Chrissie? Let's give them a muscle warrior salute, shall we? Yeah. It's to Beth Kershaw and colleagues who helped with all that data work. Great stuff. So let's talk about Tokyo and the games. Are you involved at all with any kind of preparation?
So currently we only have one team that's in the Paralympics, and that's the blind side, and that is one team that I don't have major links with. But that, like, I would absolutely, it'd be amazing to be involved, but unfortunately our lads missed out by one place qualifying for the Tokyo Olympics. I think they lost in the penalties. I was watching the game, and I was just you knew, I was like, this is the defining moment whether they're going to the Paralympics or not, and we just missed out by one penalty, I do believe. But fingers crossed, give us another 4 years and they'll be there, and hopefully we'll have more teams in the Paralympics. I know we're putting in a lot of vouchers to get more football in the Paralympics, but I think we're working on getting that male to female kind of spread and variety right in football at the moment, especially para football.
Yeah. I've just had a message from Andy. Andy Murray says hi Chrissie. It's not in the chat room, by the way. Separate message. I'm just kidding. Let me. That's the highlight of my life. Speaking of having our spirits elevated, talk about Andy Murray, talk about Jeff Bezos. Chrissie, who makes you laugh out loud? Come on.
My boyfriend, probably. I'd have to say he's just he's such an intelligent person, but he can act so goofy, and a lot of people don't see that side, but I just think he's hilarious, and even when he's not trying to be.
So does he tell good jokes?
No, I just think it's just as he acts, he's quite clumsy occasionally as well, so it's not on purpose, but he makes me laugh.
That's a great thing. Laughter is a wonderful thing. And who in your family, come on, tells the best jokes?
So I'd probably say Dad, but they're like typical dad jokes where it takes me like probably a few seconds to get what he's saying, but then after like, yeah, it's quite funny.
Typical dad joke. There's a joke, but right there. So let's have a little chat about one or two kind of goals or aspirations that you want to achieve, in your career, in your professional life. What are those?
So major one is to attend an international competition with one of the para teams and, see them play amazing, play to the level I know they can play to and win a medal. So that's a major event. The next one would be to pass my PhD in this year. So I'm due to submit in September, and then we have like a viva, which is like a verbal almost exam, and then they tell you, oh, you're a doctor, or you need more time to finish. So fingers crossed, by the end of 2021 I'll be Dr. Langley, which would be amazing.
Dr. Langley, very good.
Yeah,
very good. Very good. Now, Maker S, I probably forgive me if I've not. Micah S. She's a great job, Chrissie. You're doing a great job. Isn't that nice?
So,
tell us about Micah?
Is my flatmate in Manchester. So she's currently in the Netherlands. So she managed to get home before we locked down again.
Yes.
She's brilliant. She's also another absolute genius PhD student, looking into more psychology-based research.
Yes.
But hopefully she'll be back soon and in the labs like we all desperately want to be. And we'll be living back together in Manchester with a little bit more normality.
A bit more normality, yeah. Wonderful. Another question for you: what's your favourite sporting event that you've attended or watched or participated in? Favourite sporting event?
You know what? That's a good one. I can't even remember the last sporting event I actually went to see live. So you know what, my favourite one actually, it was MMU varsity, so my university's varsity team. We play Leeds Beckett pretty much every year, and you just get the whole day is every single sport you could imagine. And I know our netball team, and obviously because I'm involved, I'm really, really competitive on that aspect, and we saw them just the most amazing game, and there's some unbelievable players. We have some players in the Premier League, which is the highest level you could pretty much get in England netball. So I was privileged to watch that, and also to be able to play with some of the girls as well.
Fantastic. I'm going to throw a curveball at you. I just had a little idea with your netball team. I wonder whether your netball team might consider doing some sort of 657 challenge. Now, you may not know, but the number 657 is very important to our little charity. Do you know why?
Yes, it's the I've read it as well. It's to do with the all right, I know what it is, but
it's the number of muscles in the human body, but also the ambition of the charity is to deliver 657 of what we call these muscle dream interventions, these experiences, these moments in time, be it virtual or otherwise. So I've got this vision that your netball team, that you will be championing this particular challenge for them around the 657. So this idea maybe of shooting 657 nets or baskets or playing for, I don't know, 657 minutes non-stop, a rolling thing. I don't know, just come up with some ideas. Let's see if we can create some magic with the netball team. That would be absolutely fantastic. There's a little challenge for you right there. So tell us, Chrissie, a funny fact about your good self.
I've broken my nose about 6 times. I don't know if that's funny or not, but I'm quite clumsy.
Why? How?
So the first one, I ran into a wall when I was really young, when I was 5, and then the rest of it's been
sports. You ran into a wall?
Yeah, well, in my head, I blame my brother for it, but it was not his fault in any way. But take kind of embarrassment off that. I'm just clumsy and I ran into a wall when I was 5.
Okay, so that was a wall. So that's the first nose break.
Yeah.
What's the next one?
Swimming, I got kicked in the nose. So like a back heel. I went too close behind somebody, so that's my own fault.
All right.
Netball twice, just because I didn't catch the ball, and hockey twice.
Hockey? Oh my Lord.
Yeah.
No more nose breaking, please.
Yeah, no, hopefully not. I'll have to have a new one.
No more nose breaking. Oh, bless you. So, final question to close off this evening's in conversation with Chrissie. So, Chrissie, you've been a wonderful guest. I really enjoyed our chatter. So, one thing we can all do to perhaps make the world, a little bit more of a better place. What might that be?
I just think even if it's doing one kind thing, or one thing that I would like to see people more is kind of being kinder to people you don't know, because you don't understand, what they're going through. So even if you're smiling at a stranger that, might have had a bad day or something, just being kinder.
Bit of kindness.
Yeah.
Chrissie Langley, you've been such a terrific guest this evening. A big muscle warrior salute to you, from me to you. Fantastic. So if you've enjoyed tonight's episode, please, can I invite you all to make a little donation to the charity, knowing that you'll be helping the Muscle Health Foundation bring a little bit more hope to our community through our virtual Muscle Dream efforts. Thank you so much. And to Chrissie, I've got to ask you, if you know someone, this is the pay it forward request, if you like, but if you know someone who you think would make a great guest for one of our future In Conversation With episodes, have a think. You've mentioned some Paralympic athletes, you've mentioned one or two individuals who are inspiration in their own right in terms of the sports that they play. Have a think and let us know. Love to perhaps involve one or two in the conversations as we go along. And finally, here's the breaking news moment that you've all been waiting for. We're having a little break. So in 2 weeks' time, we don't have a guest, and we've decided to take a little bit of a break. And we're taking, as I said, that much needed little moment in time. But I do have some news to share with you all this evening, and that is this, that the next In Conversation With episode takes place on Wednesday, the 12th of May, at 7:30 p.m. sharp, with none other than Ross Brawn, OBE. For those that don't know, Ross Brawn is the British Formula One Managing Director, Motorsports and Technical Director, former motorsport engineer and Formula One team principal. He's worked for a number of the Formula One motor racing teams. So if F1 is your thing, if motor racing is your thing, you won't want to miss this episode. That's the date, Wednesday, the 12th of May, 7:30 p.m. we kick off. There's the diary date once again. Huge thanks to our guest, Chrissie Langley, and to our StreamYard studio manager, Grace, once again, brilliantly assisted and supported by Joe and Shari. Thank you again for all your support during tonight's broadcast. You guys are the best. For now, have a great rest of the week. Bye-bye for now.